We're going to start with red and green today. They're complements and they make brown. So the good news is red, you just have pure red already, ready to go. I'm going to add some to my palette. You do not need a lot. Okay, didn't even fill the whole tub there. Okay, so we're going to go in this outermost one that's red. Okay. Try and stick within your lines. You don't want your paint watered down. Your sketchbook will be okay, your paper will be okay if you don't use a lot of water. The paint's already liquid. You want a dry brush when you're applying the paint. The paper might get a little wrinkly from the moisture of the paint on it, but it'll be fine. Okay, one technique to think about is you're pulling the paint rather than pushing it. That keeps your brush in good shape. These are your brushes to keep, so you want to take care of them. So you pull the paint rather than pushing it. You can rest your hand on the paper where there is no paint, and that'll help keep you steady. You can turn the paper. I'm not going to do that since I'm videoing. You can also turn the paper if you need to, if the angle's better for you. You can. Practice. Yeah, you should be using a pretty small brush, not like a line brush, but pretty small and flat shape. I do paint with my writing hand, yeah. Ambidextrous. Ambidextrous. That's cool. Try and keep your lines straight. Not only are we going to learn color theory with this practice, but we're also practicing our painting technique before we start on the final copy to make sure we know what we're doing. And for those of you modeling your portraits after Alex Katz, you're going to need to be able to do really flat, clean lines and clean colors, because that's what he's known for. Okay, how we doing?
Phenomenal.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'm going to move along. Might be a little faster than you. That's okay. We're going to do the opposite complement of red. So I'm going to make green now. Okay, to do that I have rinsed out my brush very thoroughly in the water. I mark it on the paper towel, no red comes off, meaning it's clean, and I dry it off. Okay, to make green, we only have the primaries. Green is in between blue and yellow, so I'm going to use blue and yellow. All right. Again, you don't need a lot. Yellow is pretty light and easily overpowered, so just a little bit of blue. They're not quite in 50-50 proportion.
Making green.
I'm going to go ahead and add a little more yellow, because the blue can be overpowered pretty easily. And then mix those together. Make sure there's no red remaining on your brush. Blue and yellow, because green is in between those two. And there's more yellow than blue. I think I still need more. Well, that's pretty good green. Pretty Kelly green. So it is more yellow than blue because yellow is so light it gets overpowered. All right, and then I fill in the green section. Okay, Ashley, thank you. Marky. Is that good? Green.
Blue and yellow. More yellow than blue.
More yellow than blue, yep. Because it's just so light. Can you see up there pretty well?
Yeah.
The colors aren't great, but you can see where I'm working.
Or we can just use green paint now.
You could.
Wait, what?
Could, but that's cheating.
Looks like I'm making purple.
Add more yellow then. Yeah, Eric, that's what we did yesterday. Look at the videos from the Thursday folder and the ones I emailed to you. You'll catch up. I'm not worried about you. Yeah, it's okay, Eric. Thank you for messaging me. Very responsible. Again, it helps to rest your hand on the paper if there's no paint where you're wanting to rest your hand. The flat brush rather than a round brush is nice for getting in corners. Okay, so we have red and green. Red and green. Red, green. And why we put these little ones in between, we're going to gradually mix them. Red and green together. And that's going to create complementary colors. Okay. Thank you, Julissa. Can you show your face very quickly? You weren't responsive yesterday.
I use a paintbrush that I'm not going to use.
That's good. So, Jaden brought up, thank you, Julissa, a good question. How do you get the paint from your little containers into your paint palette? You can scoop it with the brush in there. You can use a brush you're not using as a scoop as well. Yeah, you can. Okay, rinse your brush again. You fill out the rest so I can keep it on. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, so I've got my brush clean again. Okay, now we're going to mix. So I'm going to put some red over in this one. Quite a bit of red. Haven't gotten there. So I put quite a bit of red over there. Okay, and I need green, but I'm not just going to dunk my dirty brush into green. I got to rinse it again. So every time you switch colors, we got to get clean brush. Otherwise, you're going to contaminate your color. So right now it's a lot of red. And we're going to go in this one step down from red. And you're just going to get a tiny bit of green. And then mix it in. And actually, I might have used too much green in that, so I'm going to rinse and add some more red to it. It's just supposed to be one step in. Adding a complement will take down the intensity of your color. So I'm going to add a little more red to it. Bring it back brighter a little bit. That's pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to fill in this color here. You can see it's still red, but it is muted. It's a lot less intense. Some of you might be able to see that you could use a color like this in your skin, in like a shadowed part possibly, or in the lips possibly, or where it show, like in your eyes, where we have a little more color. The skin of our eyelids and stuff is often darker or has color to it. Again, keep your brush dry. If you have a wet brush, the paint will thin out. There's a time and place for that, to use a technique like that. But we're trying to keep it thick here and smooth. Bless you. So this is red, this is green, this is red with a drop of green in it. It mutes it. Let's see if I can pull this a little bit. Okay, we're mixing these gradually. Okay, now I'm ready to move here. I'm going to add a little more green and a little more green. Get that brush really dry. Make sure it's clean. Now I'm going to take another scoop of green and add it into this. Yep, pretty dark.
What color is it again?
This is red with a drop of green, and this is red with a little more green. I just added to the one I already mixed a little bit more. It's turning into a kind of chocolate brown now. Again, I'm resting my hand on the paper and I'm pulling the paint. Okay. Then here, I'm going to add even more green to it. Okay. You can see it's gradually getting darker and more brown. Like chocolate brown. Yep, some of you might use this color in your skin. Okay, so I got more green. Adding it in. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush too. Add a little more green to your mixture. It's kind of a gray chocolate. And I'm going to put it in this little tiny triangle piece. There. Okay, so it's the darkest there. Let's see if I can zoom in for you. Does that help? Zooming in? Red. Red with a little green, little more green, a little more. And it's almost black gray color. Okay? Now we're going to work the other way. From green to red. They are kind of whimsical colors together. Okay, dry that brush off. Okay, now I'm going to start with green. I'm going to put quite a bit of green into this side. And I'm going to add a drop of red to that. And it'll go here. We're working from the outside with pure color to the inside with less intense, more muted colors by adding the complement. So this, I have lots of green. That's my big one. I put a lot of green here. We're going to mix the same way we just did. I'm going to put a drop of red. Just a little bit of red. Yep, a lot of green, only a little bit of red. It mutes it just a little bit. I think I need a little more red in that. I don't see enough of a difference there. That's better. Yeah, that's a little more muted. Just a little bit of red, just enough to mute the color a little bit. And I'm looking at it, I don't see enough of a difference there. So what can I do if it didn't show up enough? Don't just say good enough and be done. Let's fix it. Okay, I'm going to add a little more red to that mixture because I don't see enough of a difference between those two. Yeah, now it's more like an army green. I can see a little bit more of a difference. There we go. Yeah, now I see a little bit of a difference. Okay? So now I'm going to add more red to that mixture again to do the next one. A little bit more red. Good. So this is quite a bit more intense than the color wheel you did as an Art 1, where you just did the outer colors and learned about mixing. Now we're also adding in intensity. And we're not doing it on the wheel, but one thing you can do to change the colors as well is add white to make it lighter, more pastel, and add black to make it darker, a shade of it. Okay, and then here I'm going to add even more red. Your brush is really dry. Now it's almost like a earthy brown moss green. I'm going to switch to my tiny brush because it's a really tiny section there. And again, it kind of looks gray, kind of matches the one across from it in this tiny little pie piece. Okay? Try and get there today.